You are 4 years old and you already know the rule of this house. Their mood decides whether today feels calm or heavy. You watch the car pull into the driveway. You watch the way the door closes. Soft or firm. That single sound tells you everything. Soft means you can relax. Firm means you quietly slip into your room and wait for things to settle. You're 5 and you draw a picture at preschool. A family, holding hands, a bright yellow sun overhead. Your teacher pins it to the wall with a gold star. That night you bring it home, hoping for the same warm feeling. They barely glance at it. Where's my car? You didn't even draw my car. You go to bed wondering what you did wrong, without ever considering that maybe nothing was wrong with you at all. You're 6 now, and you've just won first place in a coloring contest at school. You run home clutching the ribbon, chest full of pride, ready to show them. They glance at it for half a second. Your cousin got a trophy last year, a real one. The ribbon suddenly feels small in your hand. You learn something that day you won't have words for until much later. Nothing you do will ever quite land the way you hoped. You're 7 and you notice something for the first time. The way they talk about you to other adults isn't quite the same as the way they talk to you. To the neighbors, you're so gifted, so mature for your age. At home, an hour later, you're told you're overreacting for feeling the exact same thing they praised. You start to feel like there are 2 versions of you, and only one of them gets seen. You're 8, and you've perfected a skill most adults never learn. Reading a room the second you walk into it. The tilt of a jaw, the pause that lasts 1 second too long. You know before anyone says a word whether tonight will be easy or tense. You've stopped being a child who simply reacts. You've become a child who prepares. You're 9, and you start apologizing before you even know what you did. It becomes automatic, a word you reach for the way other kids reach for excuses. Sorry for being too loud. Sorry for needing something. Sorry, just in case. You're 10, and something happens that stays confusing for years. You get sick, really sick, fever climbing, and for one single night, they sit by your bed. They stroke your hair. They call you their whole world. You feel it. Real warmth, real closeness, and you hold on to it so tightly you almost don't want to get better, because you've noticed something quietly troubling. Closeness here only seems to show up when you're struggling. You're 11 at a birthday party, and a friend's mom asks how your weekend was. You freeze for a second. You don't quite know how to answer that honestly, so you say good the way you always do. You watch other kids complain casually about chores or curfews, laughing about it. You realize you've never once talked about your home like that. Not because it's not worth mentioning, because some part of you already senses it's safer not to. You're 12, and you've become the one who keeps the peace at home. When there's tension with a neighbor, a coworker, a sibling, you're the one who smooths things over. You're the one who softens things on their behalf. You're 12 years old, carrying a responsibility that was never really yours to carry. You're 13, and you win an award at school. The kind that gets announced in front of the whole assembly. You scan the crowd for their face, expecting pride. Instead, you catch them checking their phone. On the drive home, they mention almost offhand how tired they are from having to sit through the ceremony. You laugh along, small and practiced, already learning to make your excitement quieter so it doesn't take up space. You're 14, and you try something new. You say no, just once. A small thing. You don't want to go to the event they planned without asking you first. What follows is 3 days of distance, no conversation, just quiet, drawn-out coolness. By day 2, you're the one reaching out first, just to bring things back to normal. You've learned something important. Disagreeing comes with a cost, and it's one you'd rather avoid. You're 15, and you fall for someone for the first time. It's small and sweet, past notes, nervous laughter. But when they ask about your family, you change the subject quickly, an instinct so automatic you barely notice you're doing it. Some part of you has already learned. Certain parts of your life stay private, even from people you care about. You're 16, and your friend's mother picks her up from your house one evening. In the driveway, she pulls you aside and quietly says, "Are you doing okay? Things sound a little different at your house sometimes." You laugh it off. But that sentence follows you to bed that night and stays with you. You're 17, and you get into your dream school. You run inside to tell them, breath still catching from excitement. They pause, then, "I hope you don't think you're better than us now?" The acceptance letter suddenly feels less like a beginning and more like something you have to apologize for. You're 18 and you're moving out. You expected to feel free. Instead, you feel oddly guilty, like you're doing something wrong. Packing boxes feels heavier than it should. Every item you take feels like it needs explaining. They don't help you carry a single box. At the door, they say one sentence that stays with you for years. "After everything I did for you." You drive away with your chest tight, unsure if you're moving forward or leaving something behind. You're 19, in your first semester away, and something unexpected happens. You feel homesick, but not really for them. You feel homesick for the version of yourself you're only now becoming. Someone who gets to make small decisions. What to eat, when to sleep, what to watch, without checking anyone's mood first. You're 20, home for the holidays for the first time since leaving. Within an hour, old habits settle back over you. You're careful again, quieter again, watching for cues. You leave 2 days early, telling them it's for work. It's not. It's just easier that way. You're 21, sitting across from a friend who is talking about her mom the way people talk about weather. Easy, warm, unremarkable. And you realize with a quiet ache that you don't know what that feels like. You start to wonder privately if what you grew up around has a name. You're 22 and you start dating someone kind. Genuinely kind, no hidden edge to it. It unsettles you more than it should. You keep waiting for the warmth to shift into something cooler. It never does. You don't know yet whether to trust it or brace for it anyway. You're 23, up late one night, typing a search into your phone almost without thinking. "Why do I feel guilty setting boundaries with my parent?" An article loads, then another, then a list of patterns that reads less like an article and more like your childhood, laid out in plain words. You close the tab, hands a little unsteady, because something that's felt unnamed your whole life just found language. You're 24, and you finally say a word out loud to a therapist for the first time. It feels like a small confession and a relief all at once. She doesn't seem surprised. She nods like she's heard versions of this story before, and somehow that makes you feel less alone than you have in years. You're 25, and you set your first real boundary. A phone call you let go to voicemail. Guilt shows up almost instantly, familiar like an old habit. But so does something new, something quieter. Relief sitting right underneath the guilt, waiting to be noticed. You're 26, and for the first time, you catch yourself mid-apology for something that wasn't your fault, and you pause. You take the sentence back. It feels unfamiliar in your mouth, almost bold, the small act of not shrinking. You're 27 now. You still tense up sometimes at silence. You still over-apologize in meetings and relationships, in rooms where no one is even upset with you. But you've started something new. You're learning what your own voice sounds like without shaping it first around someone else's mood. You spend your whole childhood learning how to read someone else's moods like a second language. It takes the rest of your life to learn how to listen to your own. You were never the problem. You were just trying to keep the peace in a house where peace never quite belonged to you. Somewhere along the way, you stopped asking what they needed from you and started asking what you actually wanted for yourself. It's a small question. It shouldn't feel so hard to answer. But every time you answer it a little more honestly, something in you loosens. Just slightly, like a knot finally given room to breathe. And slowly, quietly, you begin to